Hello, everyone. How are you all? Thank you for joining this live lesson today. I'm just going to wait, as always, to give some more people some time to join. Feel free to share this live with anyone that you think might find it useful today, that you think might also want to join. And while we're waiting, maybe you can tell me where you're from in the chat, so you can either put a flag in the comments in the chat section of your country, or you can just write the name of your country. Okay, some more people joining now. That's great. I hope you're all having a nice Sunday so far. Please tell me if the sound is okay and the video is okay, so that if there's any problems, we can sort them out before we start. Okay, let's see where people are coming from. Sri Lanka, we've got a few from Sri Lanka. Bangladesh, South Korea, nice to meet you too, Ken. Japan, Serena from Japan, hi Serena. India, okay, thanks everyone for telling me that the video and everything is okay. It's a little bit sunny today, so if it gets really sunny, I might have to close. I can see the sun coming in right now. Yeah, hold on a second. It wasn't sunny a minute ago. Let me close this. Okay, that should be better. Still okay? Sorry, everyone. It's fine before. There we go. That should be better. Okay, better now. Good afternoon. So, today I'm going to be talking about British slang, and I have taught a lesson on this topic before on the Cambly YouTube channel. So after this lesson, if you didn't watch the first part, then go ahead and watch that. Doesn't matter if you didn't see that lesson. I'm not going to be talking about any of those words that we learned before. I'm just going to be giving you more slang today, different slang words. So it's not like you have to watch them in a particular order or anything. That doesn't matter. But it's just, if you want to know even more slang, then watch both of them. So I'm gonna give you 10 different slang words today. I feel like 10, I think I've said this before, is always a good number when it comes to the amount of vocabulary or phrases you should learn at one time, because if I teach you more than that, I feel like nothing's going to go in. It's going to be too much information. So I'm going to talk to you about British slang today, and I'm going to test you on some of these as well at the end, and then I'll also give you time to ask some questions if you didn't quite understand anything, or if there's another British slang word that you've heard and you're a little bit confused about the meaning and maybe I don't talk about it, you can ask about that at the end. Okay, so I've written them up here, but I don't know how well you can see that. Don't worry if you can't see that too well. I've got it all written down a lot more clear here. Also, don't worry if you're just joining now and you missed that little introduction. We haven't started properly yet, but also the lesson will be posted onto the YouTube channel at the end. So don't worry if you don't have time to watch all of it, or if you missed some of it, or you join us late, you'll be able to watch it all. Okay, let's start from the first one here. I'm gonna say the word so you can hear how it's pronounced, but then I want to see if you've heard it before and if you can tell me the meaning. Please try not to search on Google. No cheating. Okay, the first one here. And this word is pronounced sketchy. Does anybody know the meaning of this word, sketchy? Notice that a lot of these words and a lot of slang words, they often or they sometimes have meanings, sort of more traditional meanings as well, but I'm going to be talking about the slang meaning of these words today. The word sketch as a traditional meaning can be like a drawing, okay? But sketchy means, I don't think anyone has any idea, so I'm going to tell you. Sketchy means dangerous or untrustworthy, okay? Dangerous or untrustworthy. So for example, don't go to that part of town alone at night. It's a bit sketchy. Very, very similar to the word dodgy, which I did teach in the first part of this lesson, if you remember that, dodgy. So very, very similar meaning. Romelia, yes. Very, very good point. Okay, this is another meaning as well. Vague and not detailed. That is another meaning of sketchy. So thank you for sharing that with us in the chat. If you were using it in that context, you might say something like, the plans are a bit sketchy. The plans are a bit vague. We don't have a detailed plan. We're a bit unsure of the plan. So yeah, it can have that meaning as well. Can anyone think of another example sentence with sketchy? Go ahead and write it in the chat and I will check it for you. I'm just seeing what some of you have said. Okay, let's move on to the next one, which is peak. Peak. Let me just check this question. Jack, what about people? What if you described a person as sketchy? Yeah, you could use it. Yeah, you could use it to talk about a person. You could say, he seems a bit sketchy. I would say for this, I would be more likely, but this might just be personal choice, I would be more likely to use the word dodgy to talk about a person than sketchy, but you could say it. Okay, the next one is this one, peak. Now, obviously this word does have a meaning, a more traditional meaning, but we're talking about the slang meaning today. So Romelia has written the traditional meaning at the highest level, yeah. So if something peaks, it's at its highest level. Or it can also mean excellent or great. But it can also be used in British slang to mean bad or terrible. Okay, so that's quite confusing because it's almost the opposite meaning. So it can mean at the highest level, for example, the peak of a mountain, the top highest part of a mountain. It can also mean excellent or great. But it can also mean bad or terrible. So this is an example of one of these words that you really, really only know in what way it's being used from the context. So you just have to be careful and pay attention to the context so that you know which one of these it means. I'm giving you the example of bad or terrible today because this is very, very common in British slang. For example, someone might say, I slept in late and missed my interview. And then someone might respond saying, oh, that's peak. That's bad. That's terrible. Can you think of an example sentence with peak, meaning bad or terrible? or a situation where something might be peak. Okay, we've got loads of good questions here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna save some till the end, okay? So I will try and scroll back through and find some questions. Or if you're asked a question now and I've not had time to answer it, please ask again at the end when I give you some time. So write down your questions so you remember them. But I'll save some time at the end for them. She lost your wallet. It was peak. Yeah, very, very good example. Well done. Okay, let's move on to the next one, which is mug. Mug. Okay, this has a traditional meaning, but when we're talking about British slang, it has another meaning. Can you tell me the traditional meaning or the slang meaning? So a mug, the traditional meaning is, I think I have one here, like this, okay? A mug. Okay, this is a mug, a noun. It's a type of cup that we would use to drink hot drinks in. But if we're talking about this word in terms of British slang, it has a different meaning. Maybe this time I'm going to tell you the example sentence and then you can tell me if you can guess the meaning from my example sentence. Okay. For example, my boyfriend, this is an example, my boyfriend cheated on me 3 times. I feel like such a mug. What does it mean if someone cheats on you as well? It's another bit of, it's a phrasal verb I've given you, to cheat on someone. To cheat on someone means to, for example, if you're in a relationship and one person speaks to or has romantic like relations with another person behind your back, okay, so they like lie to you and they deceive you. So if they did this to you, you might feel like a mug. Not a broken heart, not furious. Yeah, this is kind of a hard example I've given you. It's a person who is easily deceived or taken advantage of. Okay, so if you are someone who is, you feel like you've been taken for an idiot, for a fool. You feel like a fool. You feel like you've been taken advantage of, then you might think that you are a mug. Okay. Let's move on to the next one. While we're talking about sort of dating and relationships, let's move on to this one because this is also that kind of topic, which is a very, very weird looking word written down. This one, chirpsing. Have you heard this one before? I think I've taught this one to a couple of my students before and no one that I've taught it to had heard it before. No, never. This is these are all, it's all British slang, but this just seems really British, this word, to me. Okay, well, I did say it was in terms of relationships and dating. It's related to that topic. So can you guess? Yes, exactly, Romelia. Flirting. Is it like a bird sound? Very, very, very good guess. That would be, I guess it would be kind of. I think that's without an S. Chirping. You would say that a bird chirps. It's chirping. So without the S. Very similar. But this one, it means to flirt. So to flirt means to talk to someone in kind of like a romantic way, or because you want to impress them, because you are attracted to them, maybe you want to date them. So it's the way that you speak to someone. that you're interested in a romantic way. So chirpsing is the same as flirting. So my example sentence is, did you see him chirpsing that girl at the party last night? It's worth noticing that if this word here, chirpsing, if we swapped this to flirting, we would need to add a preposition afterwards. Does that make sense? So if you said, did you see him flirting that girl at the party last night? We'd need a preposition after flirting. Does anyone know what the preposition would be? Did you see him flirting? We need to add something here. A little word, a little preposition. Yes, Romelia, with. Good. Yes, Jack, with. Flirting with. So if it's flirting, we need to add a preposition. You flirt with someone. But if it's chirpsing, it's not necessary to have a preposition. Okay? Just a little difference here. Okay. Let's move on to the next one. We're going to get away from dating, relationships, all these things now, which moves us on to number 5. What I might do is, after 5, because we've got 10, after I get to 5, I'll maybe answer some of your questions, so that I can, just like a little break. Okay. This one, bear. Okay, so some of you are saying the traditional meaning, naked, not wearing any clothing. Yeah, that is the traditional meaning of this word, but when we think about British slang, there is another meaning. Very? Yes, it can mean very. Yes, it can mean very. Sorry. I didn't even think about it like that. Yes, it can mean very. It depends on the context. Very, really, yeah, it can mean these things. Or it can mean a lot of. Okay, I've got it in the context of a lot of. A lot of. For example, I have bare time before my next meeting. Let's get a coffee. I have a lot of time. I have bare time. I have a lot of time. If we want it to mean very or really, like Romelia has said in the chat, we might say something like, oh, I'm bare tired today. I'm really tired. I'm very tired. Or I'm bare hungry. I'm so hungry. I'm really hungry. I'm very hungry. So we can use it with adjectives to talk about how we're feeling, to add emphasis, to mean really or very. Or it can mean a lot of. Okay, so quite similar. Can you all please write some example sentences with bear in the chat? I think this is quite an easy one for you to make example sentences with. Okay, and we'll have a little break from me giving you lots of vocabulary, and I will check some of your questions, okay? Let's see your example sentences first. Jack, I used to have bare time. Yeah, you don't need before at the end, Jack, because you've already got used to. So used to is like before. Okay. Let's see some of the questions you were asking, because I think if I wait till the end to answer those ones, it's going to take me ages to scroll back. Okay. Knowledge is divine. You asked, is it derogatory using slang in the office? In my opinion, no. I think it's fine. I think it's good to judge a situation and who you're around as well. I would use slang. None of these words are bad words. Slang doesn't mean that it's bad. It's just a little bit less formal. But slang is becoming more and more common, and it's used more and more in professional situations than it used to be. But I don't think there's anything wrong with using it in the office. It's not rude. I'm not giving you any rude words right now. I mean, mug could be rude if you called someone a mug. That would be rude. But yeah, all of these words I think would be acceptable. When to avoid these words, the slang would be like in academic writing or maybe in formal emails. I would avoid using it. I think written down slang can look a bit more inappropriate, but when you're speaking, I think it's acceptable to use it in most situations. Maybe at a job interview, you might avoid using slang, you might try and use other words, but again, it really depends on the person you're speaking to. And depends like how formal they expect you to be with your use of language. But I would say that using slang in an interview interview for an English speaking company, or where you need to speak in English for the interview for the job, sometimes using some slang might actually give a good impression because it shows that you are really in touch with the language. You understand the language that native speakers are using. So it can actually be beneficial to use slang. But as I say, it really, really depends on the person. It depends on the context. But I would say in general, using slang in the office, which was your question, is fine. How important is British slang in the IELTS speaking exam? I don't know for sure because I'm not an IELTS teacher. If anyone has more experience with IELTS in the chat, you can answer that for me. But I have spoken to some IELTS teachers before, and they've said that you don't get marked any higher for using. Oh no, I think I'm thinking of idioms. I'm not going to answer that question because I'm not certain. I'm sorry. Okay, I'll answer one more question just now, and then we'll get back on to these. Do Americans also understand the slang words? So this is all British slang. I don't know for sure. I need to ask my American friends if they understood these. But what I would say is that sometimes if I don't understand slang because it's from a particular part of the UK or it's from another country like in America or Australia or wherever, even if I don't understand the word on its own, if I see it within context, I can usually make sense of it. So I think go ahead and use these if you're talking to an American speaker. If they don't know it, then you can explain to them what it is and they can learn something from you. Okay. Let's move on to the next one. So we're here. This one. Dry. Okay. This definitely has a traditional meaning. What is the traditional meaning? Traditional meaning is, I guess, opposite of wet, dry. But if we're using this when talking about slang, Vincent, well done, you have the answer. It means boring or dull. Boring or dull. Or uninteresting, exactly, Romelia. So you could say, the atmosphere at the party was a bit dry, so we left early. It was a bit dull, it was boring, it wasn't very interesting. Can you think of any other examples of when you might use dry? It's a dry day. Yeah, exactly. That's the traditional meaning. If it's a dry day, it's not raining. Or if you said it's a dry day, you could mean it's quite a boring day. It's a dull day. I'm not doing anything. So be careful if you're using this word because it's maybe not that obvious what one you're talking about, which meaning you're referring to. Okay, the next one is jokes. Jokes. Okay, number 7. This one might be a little bit confusing or maybe easy, because a joke is something which something you tell that's funny, Okay, a joke is funny. But if you say that something is jokes, so if you use this as an adjective, it means funny. Okay, so you might say, you'll get on well with Emma. She's jokes. Okay, she's funny and she's fun. Okay, we can also use it to say that someone is fun. Funny or fun. Or you might say, that film we saw was jokes. Okay. We have 3 more, okay? And then I'm going to test you on some of these. So I hope that you've been following okay so far. If you have any of these which are a little bit confused about the meaning still, then please say in the chat and I'll explain them again or explain them in more detail. Okay, number 8 is rinsed. What do you think rinsed means? I'm going to read the example sentence. I've rinsed all of my money and it's only halfway through the month. I've rinsed all of my money and it's only halfway through the month. What could it mean, rinsed? What have I done with my money? I'll give you some time to answer. Spent, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, run out of, yeah. So it can mean run out of, or used too much of, or overused, okay? Trying to think of another example, rinsed. I've rinsed all of my ideas. I've run out of all my ideas. Or I've used up all of my ideas. Okay. Number 9. And if I were to spell this personally, I would have just had a K here. That's how I would have spelled it. I don't know if that's correct. With slang, it's quite weird because I feel like there's often a few ways to spell things, because often with slang, it's more common to hear it or to use it when you're speaking rather than to write it down. So sometimes when written down, you're like, oh, I wouldn't have said it like that. So I personally would spell it like with a K, but then some things I looked at had it with CK, some things just with a K. So yeah, don't worry about it too much, because as I said, I feel like with slang, you're more likely to say it rather than write it down. So this, in a traditional sense, a trek is like a long walk, exactly like Romelia has said, like a mountain trek, okay? But you can also use it to just talk about something that's far away or a long journey in general. A lot of people in the UK will use this word to talk about something that's far away, or maybe something that's going to take them a long time to get to. So they might say, I prefer working from home because the office is such a trek. Okay, it's not actually like a trek, like a big walk you might do up a mountain or whatever, but you're kind of exaggerating, right? The office is such a trek. It's very far away, or it's a very long journey. The walk to the office is a long journey. Can you tell me something that is a trek from you? Something that feels like a long journey? Getting my degree is like a trek. Yeah, it takes a long time. It's a long journey. Yeah, you could use it like that. Okay. Last one is this one, link. Okay, link. Link in the traditional sense has a couple of different meanings. For example, these are links on my necklace. Okay, or if something is linked, it's related. Or you might say you need to click a link to a website. But in the UK, we also use this to mean something else. Let me read the example sentence again and see if you can guess. Oh, it's a very short example sentence. Let's link at 9:30. Let's link at 9:30. What does it mean? Connect. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, Jack. Hang out, kind of. Yes. We have, who said it? Elia and Jack Deep. Well done. To meet. To meet someone. Okay, let's link at 9:30. Let's meet at 9:30. Or let's meet up at 9:30. Okay, well done, everyone. Let me just see if any of you need me to explain a couple of these again before we do our quiz. I feel like someone did ask, could you explain something? Maybe not, maybe I just imagined it. Oh yeah, Lisa, can you please repeat for peak and sketchy? Okay, I will quickly, because we do have time. Actually, rather than me just explaining, can you all explain in the chat? What does sketchy mean, everyone? Do you remember? What does sketchy mean for Lisa? And what was the other one she said? Peak. Can anyone remember? Sketchy. Sketchy, yes. Dangerous, untrustworthy. Okay? So my example was, don't go to that part of town alone at night. It's a bit sketchy. Okay, and the other one she asked was peak. Can you all remember what peak means? Remember, it had a few different meanings, but what was the example I gave you? Yeah, well done. Bad or terrible. So this person says, I slept in late and missed my interview. And their friend says, that's peak. That's so bad. That's terrible. It can also mean great or excellent, okay? So you need to check the context. Okay. I am going to test you on some of these now. So I think I have 4 questions. So I'm testing you on 4 out of the 10. Okay, so it'd be a good idea to make sure you memorize these yourself as well and try and practice using these. Okay, and also please check the other British slang lesson 2, and then you'll have, I think I've got 10 on that one as well. So then you'll have like 20 different British slang words, which are all common, all great ones to use, and all useful for different situations. Okay, the first question, and I've made it more difficult actually for you. I normally have multiple choice, but I've decided not to give you multiple choice because you were all answering them so fast and it seemed so easy, so I thought I would challenge you a little bit more. And it kind of is multiple choice because you're choosing out of these 10. Okay, so I'll go here so you can also see the words, right? That film was something. I couldn't stop laughing. Can you see that? Can you see it through the... Maybe you can't. I feel like you can't. You can, can't you? Okay. Maybe I'll have to read it out. Ugh. Right. Maybe I'll put something down and like behind it for the next one. But yeah, you did all get it. Well done. Jokes. That film was jokes. I couldn't stop laughing. Jokes means funny. Okay, let me try and hide the answer to this one a bit better. There we go. Okay, I've something all of my chat. I have nothing left to talk about. What have I done? I've got nothing left. That means I've used it all up, or yeah, some of you are getting it already. Well done. Rinsed. I've rinsed all of my chat. I have nothing left to talk about. Good. Rinse means to use up or to overuse. Okay. The next one. Okay, there's two people here. The first person says, "Where shall we something?" And the second person replies, "The station would be a good meeting point." Where shall we what? Excellent, you're all getting this one. Where shall we link? Good. Where shall we link? Where shall we meet? Where shall we meet up? Okay, and the final one. Oh, it's quite long. This business deal seems something. Let's hold off on signing anything. I don't trust them. I don't trust the deal, or I guess them. I don't trust the business partner or company. Well done, everyone. Sketchy. This business deal seems sketchy. It seems untrustworthy. Dodgy. Okay, another British slang word. Well done, everyone. I hope this has been useful and you've learned some new words, and I hope you can start using them. Let me just have a look and see if you've got any questions. If you haven't already asked a question in the chat, ask now and I'll try and answer some of them. Rinse, run out of. Is it the same idea? Yeah. Romelia, yeah. To rinse something, to run out of something, or to use up something, or to use too much of something. Mina, you have asked me this question so many times and I haven't answered. I'm so sorry. I'll answer now. What's the meaning of sneak peek? Is that how you spell sneak peek, or is peek P-E-E-K? I have to check. Having one of those moments where I'm like, let me check for you. Yeah. So sneak peek, let me write it in the chat. Sneak peek would be spelled like this. Peek, P-E-E-K, not peek like this, okay? Peek, P-E-E-K, means a little look, okay? To look at something, but kind of a small look. You only look at something very briefly and then you look away. So if it's a sneak peek, it might be like you're showing someone something very quickly before you show them properly. I hope that makes sense. Let me think of an example for you. Maybe you might be, maybe there's a new film coming out at the cinema. And before the film, they might show you the trailer for the film, which is a sneak peek at what the film is going to be like. So it's like a little look at what the film's going to be like, a preview. Okay. Or it could also mean, I feel like that's trying to think of another example, a better example than that. Does that example make sense? Was that helpful, Mina? Tell me if you understand and if you need me to explain better. Okay, let me see. Any other questions? Vincent, when should we use slang instead of the common word? You don't have to use slang, okay? You don't have to use slang ever. You can use the normal word if you're more comfortable using that. If you're unsure about whether it's appropriate to use slang, you can always use the common word. Don't worry about it too much. what I would say is, because native speakers use slang so often, if you do use the slang word, then you just might sound a little bit more natural, or native like. But as I say to all of my students, the most important thing is to be understood. And if you can communicate with English speakers and you're not using any slang, that's absolutely fine, don't worry. But I think especially if you're at the point where your English is at quite a good level and you're able to communicate well and talk about a lot of topics, a way to kind of advance your English and make it sound more natural and more native like, then is to learn things like slang and idioms and phrasal verbs and use all of these things that native speakers would use. It's also important to learn slang so that you can understand other speakers. That's the main thing as well, because me, my friends, and everyone I know, we will use slang when we're talking. So if you come to an English-speaking country or you communicate with an English speaker, you might get a little bit confused if they're using lots of slang words. So it's important to learn them so that you have that understanding of meaning. And even better if you can use them as well. Okay, I'm gonna answer one more question. Agam, I understand the meaning of the word when someone speaks, but while speaking, the words do not come into my mind. Can you suggest some tips? Yeah, this is a really, really common question. I always say to my students that the best way to sort of start using vocabulary and to have it come to your mind is just through practice. It's about the more you use something, the more likely it is to be in your mind. It's like when you learn any new word, even for me, if I'm around one of my friends, spending time with a lot of time with a particular friend, and they always use a particular idiom or slang word, then I can guarantee that I will start using that too, because I'm being surrounded by it so much that it's in my head, it's in my mind. So the best thing to do is to expose yourself to new words as much as possible. That means practicing them as much as possible, sort of keeping note of them and trying to use them in your day, and also watching things like, if it's British slang, watching like British TV programs, British YouTubers, listening to British podcasts, because that's when you're going to hear these slang words used. Slang is also really common on social media and on the internet now. So even following like British people on social media, they might use some slang. So it's just about exposing yourself to it and surrounding yourself with slang as much as possible, so that you're hearing it lots. It's then going to be more likely to be in your mind, and then trying to use it as much as possible. I hope that's helpful. And that, I guess, brings us on. It's a good time for me to talk a little bit about Cambly, because if you don't have the opportunity to practice English with native speakers, if you don't have an opportunity to learn British slang and practice your British slang with British teachers, then a great way you can do this is by signing up to Cambly. So if you don't use Cambly already, it's a great platform where you can communicate with English teachers from all over the world, including the UK, but also many other countries too. So if you want to learn slang from Australia, from Ireland, from America, from New Zealand, from Canada, wherever, then on Cambly you'll be able to find teachers from all of these countries. And I have a code for you here, which you can use, which will get you up to 36% off your Cambly subscription. And the code is Go Live. If you forget the code, don't worry, there's going to be a link below this video when it gets posted onto the channel. So you can use that as well. There should also be a link to my profile on Cambly too, so you can check out my profile and book a lesson, or even send me a message with some slang if you feel like it. And yeah, do any of you already use Cambly? Let me know. You're all here watching the lesson, which is great, and we have more of these lessons every week. So they're at the moment they're on Sundays and Wednesdays. So it's Sunday and then the next one's going to be on a Wednesday. But we cover lots of different topics. So hopefully we'll see you at the next one. Thanks everyone again for joining this live, and I hope it was really useful. Please, when we post this video, please, or maybe even now, I think you could do it now, please give this video a like if you found it useful. And if you want more videos like this, then please comment letting us know, or give it a thumbs up, give it a like as well, so that we know that this is the type of content you find useful. Thank you everyone. I'm going to go, but enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and I'll see you at the next live lesson. Bye bye.